Shut up, you do. Beep boop.
Are you ready to do that again?
Yeah.
Hi everybody, my name's Tazmyn-May.
I'm Andy Burst.
And I'm Angus Castle-Doughty.
Today we have some of the cast members of Shadow and Bone with us. I thought we could start with you guys telling us a bit about your characters in the grand scape of the Grishaverse.
Of course. So I play Dubrov, and
I play Mikhail.
we are Mal's best mates in the First Army.
Mal's pal.
Mal's pals. And we're kind of die-hard friends, really.
I had made loads of choices before we went out that Mikhail didn't like Alina and then met Jessie and had to completely reject
That's
it.
impossible, yeah.
I was like, no one can dislike Jessie.
That is true.
In the books, Mikhail and Dubrov are these like idiot lads. We're not like that at all.
I don't know what you're on about.
So
I'm well up there.
yeah, you're well-hard.
I'm well-hard, lads.
Yeah, the boys, beers,
Yeah.
banter,
bevies.
all the bees. But in the show, we're just Mal's like absolute day ones, and we'll follow him to the end of the earth. Really,
We're just there for him, no matter what. We're his kind of support, which I think is obviously the best kind of support. To be supporting Archie as he plays Mal was kind of a dream, really. So yeah.
and it was really weird for me. I had met Archie before getting cast in Shadow and Bone, so when I got a text from him like 2 weeks before flying out to Budapest being like, see you in Budapest, and I was like, mate, who are you playing? And he's like, I'm playing Mal. And I was like, oh my god, we get to... The last conversation I had with Archie before seeing him in Budapest was, see you later, nice to meet you, hopefully we work together soon.
Yeah.
And then the next time I saw him we were working together, which
Oh,
is
that's
quite
so
cool.
nice.
Yeah.
How did you meet?
It was on a night out.
Amazing. Brilliant.
Every night out.
I love when guys show affection for each other. It's so, like, you know, against kind of culture in the West that when you see boys really, like, stand up... Sorry, boys, men. Like, stand
You can
up
say
for each
boys.
You
other.
can say boys. So
Boys.
we have the intellectual capacity of 8-year-olds. So that's fine.
And the height.
Yeah, for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that sort of relationship is shown much in any form of, like, consumable media. So it was so nice to see, especially when Mal goes off on some sort of a quest and you two are like, what, you thought that we'd let you go on your own? No chance. Absolutely not.
Do you know what? Actually, that scene followed on from another scene that ended up being cut from the show.
Yeah.
And
Is that the bath one?
yes,
Yeah.
And do you know what?
The Angus's favourite. scene.
Yeah, in hindsight, I'm actually like, although I think it's a really nice scene, I'm quite happy it was cut because that scene was all about us. It was more of us being like, no, don't go, and then he's like, I'm going, and leaves, and then the next time you see us is us going in and going, what, we're not going to let you go on your own. But because they cut that scene, it makes it so much more impulsive of, oh, we're not even thinking about this,
We're gonna do anything.
we're coming,
Yeah.
that it ends up flowing much nicer. I didn't realise until the end when Dan sent me a text being like, I'm so sorry that scene was cut. And I was like, I just watched the show and I didn't clock. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think you're right. And also, like, Andy and I, and like the two of us and Archie are quite like affectionate people anyway, and everyone out there was very tactile and affectionate. It's just the way it was. And I saw Kit make a really interesting point about Jesper's sexuality, in that it's not made a comment, it just exists, and it's not a question thing. Same Schitt's Creek do it with gay marriage. They go, no one ever questions it. It's not even put as a point of contention for the show to be like, we think this is okay.
Yeah.
The statement is made by not having any comment on
Because
it.
this is the real world.
Are you upset that you didn't ever get to shoot with the goat? Because from what I've heard on Twitter, that is everybody's favourite character.
I don't know if we didn't get to shoot.
Hang on.
Yeah, that's true.
Please elaborate.
There were two goats on set every day. And
Let's just premise this by saying there was an entire small farm.
yeah, there was a
on
farm.
the First Army set, certainly where from the skiffs are all kind of launched. That whole set with the boxing fight, there was a small farm on set that they had kind of created, partly because they were using animals, but also, I mean, it kind of made the world even more real.
Like when we weren't on camera, we were often just improvising stuff for ourselves, so it didn't look like we were just going rhubarb, rhubarb, rhubarb in the background. And Andy came up with this whole skit that Dubrov had bought one of the goats and was going to keep it as a self-sustainable pet, where he would milk it and then make cheese from its milk for the two of them in their tent. But I'm sure that if not Milo himself, Milo's family was at base.
That is definitely, yeah, that's true. When we first went to set, obviously it was just kind of incredible, but I remember we had a lot of time off at the beginning, certainly because we were shooting later on in the days, and I would often go on walks, which Angus did not like because he thought we were going to get sacked, but I often went on explorations and adventures of the set to find something new, whether it was like the
like
biggest...
a child chasing something shiny.
Yeah. So I would often go to the farm just to talk to the animals, but that was just...
Yeah.
You didn't really like that, did you?
No, well, I was like, it was
left
such
out.
a shocking... It was such a shocking happenstance to me that we were there in the first place, that I didn't want to do anything for them to be like, who are these two morons wandering around with the farm animals? So Andy would be chasing the goat, I'd be chasing Andy, we'd have the third AD being like, what are they doing?
Can you please stay up the trailers?
It was really stressful.
Yeah.
Like herding cats.
It is that kind of like that video of that a baby elephant chasing the butterfly. I've seen that. It was a lot like that for me.
How long were you two filming for?
We did on and off from September 2019 to end of February 2020.
Oh wow.
But it was initially 3 months. We'd go up and do 2 weeks, and then we'd come back, go to like a week, come back, then did 3 weeks, I think. And then they lovingly decided they wanted some more Mikhail and Dubrov, so
Correct.
wrote some more scenes. So quite a lot, not all of them, but like 1 or 2 of our scenes in the first and second episode were added in February 2020. So we went to go do
The
it.
first scene where Dubrov and Mikhail meets Alina with Mal, that was on essentially reshoots.
Was that not in originally?
No,
That's such a
us
lovely
approaching,
scene.
we things were changed here and there. Like when we come out of the tent and Dubrov's brushing his teeth and having a coffee. That was a new scene as well.
I love that one.
So it's
I was a real unprofessional on that day.
surprise.
Not intentionally. I was just like I didn't want to waste anyone's time. And they always say, don't break character and don't break the scene, just go with it. And I walked out and booted over this bowl of soapy water and just looked directly down the camera lens and went, I've just booted that bowl over. And the worst thing was they had Ben in a carriage that was going around the whole set, and every time we did a take they had to get the carriage to go all the way
back. Another 12 minutes to set up the shot again.
And I genuinely walked out, booted it, went, I've booted that. And Leigh went, cut, reset the carriage, and you could just hear chugga 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 chugga. And I was looking at Andy, went, I could have so easily just carried on that scene and no one would. And watching it on TV, you can't even see my legs, so no one would have realised. I don't know who I thought it was. I don't know who I thought Mikhail was, but I walked out, booted it, and thought, I've ruined the scene now.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to waste another 15 minutes of everyone's time.
There's only a few £1,000, that's all.
Yeah, someone actually once said, not on Shadow and Bone, a different job I did, and they went, just so you all know, it's £1,000 a second here, so don't waste our time. And I was like, oh god. And then all my lines just left my brain.
That scene though, they kind of cut the last line that I had, which
Yeah.
I really loved. They had, yeah, I know. No, it made sense in the final edit, but it was something Ben had mentioned actually over dinner, and we said, he says, "Oh, is he gonna tear down the fold then?" And then you say,
He's a Grisha, not a miracle worker.
and then Dubrov says, "Are you gonna tell him that?" And I really loved that, but that got cut. That was a good.
Yeah.
That's not really interesting, but I just it was a nice line that I had.
You're so precious.
I am.
They went, let's just cut Andy's ad-lib at the end of that. We also had another bit that got... Not only did it just get cut, we got called out in front of about
off.
200 extras.
Yeah.
So in the recruiting bit, Hugo is saying... yeah, this person's going into the
Across
fold.
the
This
fold,
person,
yeah.
or does anyone nominate themselves to go into the fold?
And I just
we had this joke that Dubrov would raise his hand really slowly because he's been offered food, and then Mikhail slowly brings it down.
I love that.
And yeah, we did it, and Leigh went, "That's great, Andy. Can we do one without the arm?"
Everyone just looked.
Yeah,
That's fine.
yeah. Well, am I sacked? Yeah.
You say that you did a lot of improvising, right, between your characters.
Yeah.
How much was in the show? In the end?
I don't know how fair it is to say, like in the show we do a lot of improvising.
Yeah.
Right.
Just for ourselves, we did a lot to help us like come up with their dynamic and relationship.
We did come up with a lot of ideas for these things in the background. Like we were talking about how we came up with these scenarios and little funny skits. Those were kind of the basis for then the scenes that they then added later on, because they went, oh yeah, here's their relationship, or here's these characters, we like them in some way, so let's use what we've kind of heard on the cans in a tent somewhere and add that in, which was kind of, we felt pretty honoured to have that, because they knew what we were like off camera, and they knew what we were capable of, and they trusted us and had some faith in us to kind of create funny scenarios around what is essentially, that storyline's quite dark, and there needed to be some lightness. So
I don't know who, I guess it's not an ad-lib, but I think Dagan on the day, or maybe it was Archie, maybe it was you, came up with "Let's go, big guy, Mal knows his shit."
Yeah.
That was, because that wasn't in the script, and then someone came up to me and was like, "I'll say this before."
It sounds far too clever for me. I imagine it's
It
probably
definitely
Dagan.
wasn't me. We were just happy enough to be given lines.
Honestly, like I think because when you read the book, you don't see a lot of Mikhail and Dubrov. You see them in kind of the first bit when they're at the camp, and then you don't really hear from them again. And it's only in Mal's diaries, when he's in the permafrost, in the bonus edition of the book, that you kind of get to hear really what happened to them and the journey.
We were really gutted of two things. First, we really wish they had the scene of Mikhail and Dubrov getting drunk that's in the book.
That would have been
And secondly, we were desperate to be on the scenes on the skiff.
Yeah, because they're on the skiff, aren't they? In the book, they're on the skiff.
In the book, it's them and Mal, and they've got the gun, and they're like, "Here we go."
Yeah.
And then, like, I was reading it, and I was like, "What's going to happen to Mikhail and
so
Dubrov?"
cool, yes.
And then we got out there, and we were like, "Yeah, well, we think we're on the skiff." And one of the actors was like, "No, you guys definitely aren't, because we're shooting that next week." And we were like, "No, I'm pretty."
We're not on it now. I'm sure they'll like reread the book and then kind of go,
It says in the book,
are.
actually.
Yeah,
We brought it up a few times.
far too many times, which is probably why we didn't get on the skiff, because we kept bringing
Actually,
it
I
up.
think it ended up with them going, "Look, we'll see what we can do," but
as we're literally
as-
flying out of
as
Hungary.
we're-
I mean, there's so much going on in those scenes. Like, the last thing you need is two idiots in the background kind of just mucking about.
I disagree. I disagree.
ultimately, there is way more important stuff going on in Shadow and Bone than what Mikhail and Dubrov do. We were just being like ego actors and going, "Well, that looks really fun."
Yeah, we'd like
Can
to
we
do
do
that. So if we just talk about it a lot,
Yeah.
pretend we're in it, then it'll happen.
The longer we were there, the more confidence we got to be like, "Can we be here?"
Yeah. Are we allowed to do this? Because we're doing it. Or we're not doing it. Oh, okay.
What was the dynamic like with, on set, but also with the crew? Because I think we can all see from social media that the cast, you guys were all really, really close. But I feel like, the behind the scenes people, they don't get enough credit.
The crew out there were absolutely wonderful with us. DOPs, from the DOPs to the gaffer to the directors to the writers to hair and makeup to costume and design.
Drivers.
Everyone was really lovely, and that can sound cliche sometimes, but it was a joy to wake up, go downstairs at the hotel and be picked up, and from that moment on until you're back in your room, just be surrounded by pleasant people and funny people and people that care about one another and really cared about the show. So it was really lovely. We were
I've got to
really
say,
grateful.
and I maybe I don't know, maybe Jessie would say I'm giving her too much credit, but I do think a lot of that lovely atmosphere starts with Jessie, because the unit base, Jessie was working all the time, the atmosphere would be set by Jessie's presence, really. And then it's telling that on her days off and stuff she'd still go to set. And that's not to detract away from the crew at all, because they were all amazingly lovely, but at the end of the day Jessie was number one on the call sheet, so she stepped up, didn't she, more than she ever needed to. That was what was amazing. We're really close with her now, and it's lovely, because it wasn't for us, it was never about we're all friends with everyone, cast and crew, and then we're on to the next job. It genuinely, all those friendships are real because everyone is such a lovely person. And Debbie, who did our makeup, is
Denson.
I'm heartbroken, I need to get a job where she's doing makeup again. She actually said to us, because effectively making Two's a Crowd was indirectly her idea, because she told us to go away and write something together. And I remember saying when she said it, well, will you come and do our makeup if we do? And she was like, absolutely. You ever get out to LA?
You can't afford her now.
There's no way we're flying her down from LA to do Two's a Crowd. But if we ever do get the chance to get Debbie involved, she's the biggest legend.
She is the bee's knees.
Yeah. The knees of the bees.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect segue, because I wanted to ask you about your short film, which, if you want to, you can follow the link down there and you can come support them.
Yes, so Two's a Crowd was born, I guess, out of, as Angus said, Debbie had mentioned, she had said, you guys should work together again. And I think
we sort of went, if you know any production companies hiring, that'd be great.
And so she said, no, you should see what you can create together.
I cobbled together a pilot for a full TV show, because ever the optimist. I was like, I'll write this pilot, someone will love it, and we'll make the TV show. And then Andy and I met up and did a read, and then I went away and wrote some more and edit some bloody blah. I think because of the pandemic, because it was when am I next getting cast in something? I texted Andy and was like, look, we're making a short film of it, leave it all to me, I'll sort it out and we'll get this made, and then we'll get it put on TV. And that's sort of where we're at now. But it was a no-brainer, really, because the characters came really easily. They're not necessarily, it'd be cheap to say, oh, they're based on us. It's based on if me and Mikhail had a child and Andy and Dubrov had a child. Andy's character in Two's a Crowd is very happy-go-lucky and not dumb, but
carefree,
just carefree. Yeah. And my character is wound up tight, and we've just worked out why today. And together they sort of fit together as a puzzle piece. We were saying this the other day. We said to Caitlyn, who was one of the involved in casting us as Mikhail and Dubrov, we were like, how did you know that we would work together well? And she was like, I just knew. And so Two's a Crowd is a bit of an exploration of these two people who don't like each other but work together really well and
end up in an audition room together.
And they try and work out why why that is. In the TV show, they're the last ones to work it out, really.
Yeah.
How long are you planning for the TV show to be when it obviously gets picked up by Netflix?
I mean, British comedy is often done with like 6 to 8 episodes in
I'd
mind.
quite like 6 25-minute episodes, because that leaves a lot less writing for me to do.
I think the main thing was we knew that so many people had decided to write in the pandemic because there was nothing else to do. We didn't have any jobs. So those production companies' desks will now be full of all of those scripts rather than the many, many, many that they would normally have in a regular year. So for us to make a short film version and go, here is a proof of concept of
Well,
this.
because it's developed now. Now it's like, here's a pilot.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like 15 to 20 minutes long.
So if you like it and you want to see more of this, or you think that you can help us, or whatever it is, and you want to pick it up, then let's talk. It's just much easier to do that, slapping that down on someone's desk, rather than it is slapping a script that looks the same as so many others. And we're just in a
And also a script doesn't, if we sent them a script of Two's a Crowd, it doesn't have us reading it. So like, all of a sudden a production company starts reading a script and they go, oh yeah, I could see, I don't know, Harry Styles playing this or whatever it is, and you don't have any leverage of going no, because it's us, and it doesn't work without us. My partner said this before we adapted it into the short film. She was like, you need to film you and Andy saying it, because it's not as funny without the two of you doing it. And Jessie has read the pilot script as well, and she's like, oh, this is funny because I can see the two of you doing it.
What's interesting though is that we read it both ways. So there was the script, and you've got Finley, who's very, very uptight, and takes himself very seriously, and Henry, who really does not and is the complete opposite. And we read it the other way. I remember thinking, I'm sure that it would be better for me to play Finley because I'm quite uptight and you're very carefree. So I thought, well, that just makes sense, and we're kind of playing ourselves. But reading it, as soon as we did it, I think we didn't even finish it. We went, absolutely
no. We got one scene in and went, should we swap back?
Yeah, it feels so odd. So it's kind of nice for us to go, here's something that's completely different from who we are, but it's still born out of the script is born out of our experiences and our imagination.
And also, I wrote it with in mind what Andy could do and what I could do. It wasn't written, this is Andy and this is Angus. It was like how, what are the limits to that I know Andy can play this character, and let's do it that way. So it's no real surprise that when we tried to swap it, we went, don't like it.
But yeah, and
like
also
wearing someone else's socks.
Yeah, I don't want to wear your socks. Knowing each other so well as we do, we know each other's kind of vocal melody, or our type of comedy, what works and what doesn't, who we are as people. We spent so much time together, which has been a curse in one respect, and also an absolute blessing, because we can create these characters knowing what's right for them, and we can bounce off each other when we're writing and going, no, you shouldn't say it like that, because hear it in this voice. It works with me, but it doesn't work when you say it because of X,
we
Y,
did
Z.
it this morning. We were going through it and the pace was off, and we were like, look, just trust me, it needs to be this pace for this punchline to land. And then we did it and it worked, and we were like, yes, that's how this works.
Yeah.
Did you guys not have a chemistry read then for Shadow and Bone?
So we met in the chemistry read. We'd had a first round where we both went to Suzanne's office and met Caitlyn and Suzanne, and then we got a recall. I didn't realise it was a chemistry read at first, and then I think I found out afterwards. I was like, oh, I'm going to be reading with someone. So we met outside the toilet in Suzanne's office.
Yeah.
And that was pretty
romantic
for you. But yeah, so we met, and they basically said, have 5 minutes to yourselves, and we'll be up and then we'll film it in a sec. And we, as soon as they closed the door, we turned to each other and just went, we are best friends now. Like, that's happening here. And it worked because we got it.
I mean, Caitlyn said she'd give us 5 minutes. That was like 2 minutes.
It was 2 minutes.
It was like the door shut. We had time to say that, and the door opened. They're like, "Are you ready?"
Yeah,
we're like,
I think we read through it once, and it was a bit like, oh, okay, we've got the nervous one out of the way behind closed doors.
Yeah. I walked out and like ever the optimist and ever full of confidence. I was like, "We've got that," and Andy was like, No, well...
Yeah, I mean, it was good. It was good, man, yeah. But, I mean, it was nice. I thought it went well. Yeah, as in trying to say, like, okay, mate, like, that is an awful lot of confidence that you have there. And
I just think, like... And it's the same with Two's Crowd. Like I said to you, we'll make it and then we'll get it commissioned for TV. You might as well go, like, throw everything to the wind and go, this is... gonna happen, because if you think it's realistic that you're gonna say to the crowd, you think it's realistic that it will get commissioned for TV and that's your target, not a dream, that is your goal, you stretch those sinews like a centimetre further than you would before. You would you push everything that little bit further, as opposed to going, well, I'm gonna make this and see what happens, because then you limit yourself, I think. And it was the same with coming out of the audition of going, we've got that. And yeah, it would make it devastating if they get the call and go, it's not gone your way. And it has done in the past. But I think you get back what you put out to the universe.
I think to be fair though, I hadn't worked for 10 months. And the two...
You start thinking you're cursed when that happens.
Yeah, so I think the week before, or the day I got told I had the first audition for Shadow and Bone, I had an awful audition, and just thought, oh, like, what's going on here? This is just not working, or not getting enough through the door, whatever it was. And then Shadow and Bone, I came out of that room and had the Shadow and Bone audition, was like, great, I can work with this, I can really do some work on this. And so I think I'm just always overcautious with things like that.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's good to have someone by your side that is an optimist for me, because I do need reminding that things are going to be okay, and that I have enough ability to do X, Y, and Z. And then I think sometimes it's good for you to have me as maybe more of a realist on your side, so that,
especially when it's a no, and I'm like I said, because I go so like throw it all to the wind, that when it's a no, I'm like devastated. Last year I got a no that spammed me out for like 3 weeks, and Andy every day was like, it'll be fine, and I was like, I don't know. And to be fair, that's the weight of the pandemic as well behind going, I don't know when I'm next work or what's going to happen. And then on the flip side, like in the lead up to Shadow and Bone coming out, like Andy was nervous, and I was like sending the opposite messages. I don't know, we have some very impassioned conversations where it's like, shut up, snap out of it, you're getting tough love now and you need to get over it. We're not mates as in like, oh, what are you up to tomorrow, shall we go grab a pint? It's more like brothers going, sort yourself out now, because I'm not going to hear it.
There's a brutal honesty with us, which I don't think, you know, I haven't written with anyone else before. This is all new for us, but having that kind of honesty and trust with one another is really important when you're going on a venture like Two's a Crowd or Shadow and Bone. That these are massive things in our lives that and we're coming out of a global pandemic, which is a big dark thing in
that
itself.
old thing.
Yeah. So having someone by your side that you can be honest with, that you trust implicitly, is really, really important, especially if it's a double act that you're writing about or that you're playing.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't trust the other person, people can see that. The audience will just notice that straight off, which is why I'm really glad that Shadow and Bone has gone down so well, and that they can see that our relationship is genuine, and the characters.
It's for realsies, bro.
Yeah.
I feel like whenever you ask us a question, we go and talk for like 25 minutes.
I love it.
You're going to be sat
sorry.
in the editor's room just like,
Oh,
no.
People are going to be having a great time at home.
Let it flow, but there's a point.
Get them up.
Well, I do think that you guys are fucking fantastic in the show. Like, the chemistry that you two have in real life, which I feel very lucky to have witnessed today and also in your Instagram stories. Excellent. It shows, like, you can't get that relationship on screen if you two weren't as close as you are.
And what's amazing is we had no idea, but Caitlyn and Suzanne did. Like, they knew that, and that's what fascinates us. But
Like,
not
what were the
know
chances?
it. Yeah, I mean,
Insane.
we're so lucky to have one another because, it makes everything. It makes everything better in the world.
I keep thinking
In the
about
world.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about like, oh, imagine if Two's Crow got made into a TV series, and then imagine if it got like a few series, and then I think, God, how weird would it be that off a chemistry read, like, for example, one of the groomsmen at my wedding I met in a chemistry read. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always think about that.
Yeah.
I always think that's so bizarre. I think because Mitchell and Webb, they were each other's groomsmen at their wedding. I always think, God, that's so strange, because you always think of your closest friends are like the people you went to school with, or some people that you went to university maybe, and it's not like we randomly met in an audition room and then decided to work together. That's like, I don't know, it's weird, isn't it?
I think with acting as a profession especially, like, you meet so many more people from job to job than if you were to work like in an office for 10 years.
Yeah.
And then it's almost as though like you have a wider pool of people to choose who you want to stay in touch with.
Yeah.
So then I feel like the relationships that you do create last longer.
But
and last
we're
stronger.
also incredibly like, I think Andy and I got on as soon as we went out. I think we walked around Budapest for a bit, and then
We did a
stopped for
day.
yeah.
We just walked the city. So our first like proper day there, where we were off and we weren't going to hair and makeup or fittings or anything like that, we said, oh, let's meet up and let's go for lunch. And what we ended up doing is walking the entire city.
But we went and got like a beer, and I remember it clicking when we started like being really sarcastic about stuff around, and as soon as like you tentatively throw like a sarcastic joke out there to see how they react, and then Andy threw one straight back, and I was like, we're gonna be fine.
yeah.
This is great.
We have a very similar sense of humour, which I think is the one thing that unites things like double acts. We're not saying we're the next this or we're the next that. We'd love what some of these amazing double acts have had as
Be
a
the
career.
first.
Yeah, I think we'd rather be ourselves and be our own, and we'll see what comes of this. But it's imperative that you have the same type of humour. You can be very, very different people and have different views or outlooks on life and all sorts, but ultimately if you've got the same kind of sense of dry humour, then it works. So yeah.
Questions from you guys now. What's the funniest moment on set, and what was the funnest or funniest scene to shoot?
The funniest moment on set was the day of the cut scene, watching you put on your modesty sock.
Oh, please
that
elaborate
was-
on this scene in general.
That was not on set. That was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. So you get given, if you do a nude scene, you get given a modesty sock, and these were like modesty thongs, and none of us could work out how to put them on.
They were kind of like a new design, weren't they? They were like, oh yeah, try these ones. Like, okay, cool.
And you effectively glue it to yourself.
You glue it to like your hip bones, and then the other one is basically
Behind you.
yeah.
And none of us could put them on very well, but the three of us were struggling with them. But Andy's struggle with it was one of the funniest things in the world. It was so like uptight, going, "It's not working! It's not working!" That honestly, I was like bent over double with tears in my eyes.
The worst thing was for me, the worst bit was before that. So before we were in the trailers, and they were like, "Cool, so like, here's your costume for today," and it's a modesty and a towel, and I was looking at it, going, they haven't told us how to put this on. Like, how do I put this on? I've never done this before. So I went, okay, I'll give it a little tester, because apparently the glue is supposed to, like, it will stick to you for a while. So I thought, right, I will put this on now so that when we get there, I'll just do it really quickly and it'll be fine. Not knowing the carnage that we're doing See You Later. So I was in my trailer and put it on, and then literally bent over and was trying to put it up there. And at that moment, one of the runners knocks on the door and goes, "Andy," and opens the door and literally is presented with my anus. And not only that, where the trailers were, there was a busy high street, and
Budapest got a view that day.
Budapest got the view.
They've got the Danube, and then they've got your ass. Just tourists taking pictures.
Yeah. It was mortifying for me.
It's one of the
In
funniest
hindsight.
moments of my life.
The time, I mean, it wasn't really that funny for anyone else but me, but the time you fell out of your trailer, you proper stacked it, because you've got some steps down, and there's a handle, I guess, attached to the trailer, and you were...
It's like 4 foot, I felt. From that
You were hanging on the, like, kind of, on the handle, and the steps were here, and you were talking to me, and then all of a sudden you just dropped off, and the biggest thwack, and you were just like, I thought you were knocked out, and I could not stop laughing. And nobody else heard, but they heard for the next half an hour.
Do you know what I think
laughing.
it was? I think you were doing that video that you put on Instagram of us coming out the trailer doors.
Yeah, I think.
I think I went boom, slipped, and went, oh no, I'm falling, and just stacked it, and there was a crumpled heap.
I love that your favourite memories are of the other person making a fool of themselves.
Of course.
Yeah, honestly, that modesty sock debacle was one of the funniest moments of my life.
Yeah, if you ever get to talk to Archie about that, it's well worth it for his perspective as well.
Like, for that reason alone, it's probably a good thing this scene was cut.
Yep.
The next question that I'm a big fan of is, what is your favourite thing about being part of a fantasy world?
I mean, the world, the law, the kind of the rules of play certainly within Shadow and Bone are really interesting, and they're original and they're fun. It's not like anything I've ever read before. So for me, like, being part of something that is so big can sometimes feel a bit daunting, certainly when we went on set first, but it's just like an honour to be part of something that's so wonderfully intricate.
I think reading the books as well before going out there, reading the books and being like, oh, like, we not only are we in an adaptation of this, there's my character's name on the page in this best-selling novel. That's really cool. And then by extension, that all the, like, the people that were fans of the books before the show even came out, like, we were embraced so warmly from, like, the get-go. And so for us it was like, oh well, we can't really, there's no going wrong here, because all these people love the books and just want it to succeed so much. It's not like coming in cold. I mean, I don't think a fantasy book adaptation comes in cold at any point, but, like, it's not like you're making something new and you go, oh, I don't know if the, like, script on the page or the material will translate. It sort of felt, Andy used to say this quite a lot when we were in Budapest, where we'd go, oh, I think this is quite big. Like, this is quite a big thing to be involved in. So the whole thing was just a whirlwind of pride and just love, really.
Yeah.
The fact that it has such a massive fan base before you started filming, was that daunting, or did you? It seems like it.
I didn't
felt
look
like support.
Yeah, I didn't look into that. Certainly, like, through the casting process. Once I was cast, or we were cast, I obviously looked up as much as I could, and with the books and stuff. But that involves, like, looking at the fandom of those series. It would be the same if you know, if you were casting something Lord of the Ringsy or Star Wars or Star Trek, these big franchises, there are big followings, so therefore it's worth looking into it to go to kind of know what that fandom is like, who the people are, you know, I don't know, just get a gauge of them.
I remember,
yeah,
I was in Edinburgh at the festival when the audition came through, and I was just sat there doing some work, and the audition came through, and I was like, oh wow, this looks cool. I'm gonna just have a Google and see what comes up. So I googled Shadow and Bone and then Mikhail, and the first thing that came up was Shadow and Bone wiki Mikhail, and then a biography of the character, and I was like, oh, this character already exists somewhere. So I hadn't read the books yet, because I was like, I'm not going to read the books unless I get the part, because
that'd be heartbreaking.
That would be heartbreaking. So the fact that stuff like that already existed, it was less of a daunting thing, more like, look at all this source material that is there to like make the character from.
There's almost, it's like you'd had your own researcher kind of go, and here's your file.
Yeah.
And have a look at that. Here's the practical element.
And fan castings of Mikhail and Dubrov, where, because in the books Mikhail is like 6'5" and shredded, and Dubrov is like a little runt, isn't he? Yeah.
And then the other way, obviously, we don't know why, I guess, because they liked us, you know, they just liked us, but it's the other way around, although I am not shredded in any way.
Yeah.
You're calling him a little runt, is that what you're saying?
That's what I was
to be fair,
say.
I should retract that. Little runt sounds horrible. Little scrawny guy.
Yeah, a little kind of, but I think it's almost funnier in a way, because sometimes, I don't know, having this like kind of a little guy kind of want to be this shredded 6'5" muscles man is fine.
And the amazing thing is, I am 6'5", so the camera
just
work
wear
they
very
did,
short heels.
Yeah. They actually had to dig a hole on set every time just to make me look smaller than I am.
I was always on a platform.
It was funny, all my character prep for Mikhail was that he considered himself the leader of the three.
Yeah.
And he was like, they all followed him. So I was talking to my acting coach about it, and he was like, yeah, no, 100% he has to have this leadership complex. But there's no way of getting any mileage from Mal, so the only person he can get any mileage from is Dubrov.
Yeah. Is everybody all right?
Should I get another can? Cans.
Cans.
Do you know who Harvey Reese is? Because I think it's someone that he knows, and he's asked this question. I have no idea.
I don't know that person.
Okay. No.
No, right to the top, sir.
I need some.
No.
Sponsored by Diet Coke. Please sponsor me, Diet Coke.
That's literally all your dreams come true.
Honestly, it'd be the best day of my
Wouldn't
life.
need a house, just need the just need the DC.
Just Diet Coke.
This next question is, can you ask Angus if he thinks there'll ever be a boy born who can swim faster than a shark? From Harvey Reese.
Yeah, so thanks, Harvey. Harvey Reese is one of my oldest friends, and that is a quote from The Office. So,
UK or US?
UK. There's only one Office. And the answer is no. There you go. Thanks, Harvey. Will there ever be a boy born that can swim faster than a shark? Bet that wasn't as funny as you thought it was going to be, was it, Harvey?
No, so nice.
Yeah.
What's it like for an actor with smaller roles to be in a production as big as Shadow and Bone?
There's no small roles.
Yeah, I was going to say, very fun, because the amount of chaos that you can create is very, very fun.
We had very little responsibility.
People let us on certainly a bit too long a leash.
Yeah. I mean, you always want to be nice to work with, but we especially were quite conscious of everyone had so much responsibility and like weight of responsibility on their shoulders. Having us two come in and either be annoying or take the piss or take ourselves too seriously would just add to the stress. So we tried to turn up to set with donuts and stuff. And be those guys, the donut guys.
The donut guys, yeah. I think you're right. It was a big big production, and it was still daunting for us coming onto set for the first time. We were very, very well supported by Leigh, the director, which was brilliant, and all of the crew as well. But I think also it helps, everyone was kind of around our age, and there are people in that cast that you kind of have an affinity to because you're very similar people, and it's a real mishmash of people of different kind of
I've got to be honest.
So it's really fun. There was all this kind of like energetic buzz, so you don't really.
But I've got to be honest,
Yeah.
and this probably is like a nod to anyone that is acting. There really isn't. At no point did I feel like we had small roles, and at no point did any of the other cast like treat us like we had small roles.
Yeah.
Everyone had a really important part to play in the story, and like I know that we don't have, obviously the roles aren't as big as the 6 or 7 or 8, but to our storyline we were important to it, and we had this whole thing about we wanted the characters to feel lived in and have a world outside of the show. So if we'd gone in and gone, there's a small part, it wouldn't have worked, because there would just be no.
Well, there's nothing in it for anyone then, whether that's the audiences, the people creating the show, or us. You go, well, that's boring. You've got to just view it as you're giving the most important part of it. And I think without us, Mal's storyline it would have been very weird, because he would have done everything on his own. But also, it's quite dark, and it was quite nice to have that lightness. And I felt like, because the Crow stuff, you've got Jesper, and you've got you've got the Milo stuff as well. That is really fun, and Nina as well, with the comedy that Danny brings to her was brilliant. So then on the Shadow and Bone side of that story, Alina and Mal's story and General Kerrigan's, it is quite a serious story. So certainly for those first 4 episodes, it was really great for us to come in and go, here's 2 clowns on set.
But
Here's
we also
fun.
we spoke a lot about like our characters' journeys, and they have a storyline, as opposed to being like, you see it a lot where characters come in and they're like supporting roles, but they don't have an arc or a storyline, so they're sort of inconsequential really. We had a responsibility as actors to Mikhail and Dubrov, but Mikhail and Dubrov have a responsibility to Mal. So I think every role in it is there to serve a purpose, and in the wider, larger, huge thing that is the franchise, there's no space for like just extra characters, or there's no space for anyone that isn't there for a reason, really.
Yeah, they're all vital.
I also very much want to know the answer to this one. What do you think would happen in a spin-off with you two?
Trying to avoid spoilers, you'd have to do a prequel of how they met and how Mal and Mikhail and
We're
Dubrov.
desperate for some flashbacks, man.
Yeah, it's so
Some
desperate.
flashbacks of us meeting Mal for the first time.
Like, how does he meet these guys, and
Yeah.
also why does he stick with them?
Yeah.
I'd love to know that.
I would actually, to be honest, I hope that one day they do make a prequel for Shadow and Bone, provided it like gets renewed and they make more series of it. I would love one day for them to make a prequel, because I'm so I was interested when we were out there. I'm so interested to know about these first army wars, like the wars with the Fjordans and like, I know the whole thing is about the Fold really being formed, but like there's way more that goes into it. The stuff with the shoe and
and also, we once talked about doing little bushcraft survival videos. Bushcraft 101 with Mikhail and Dubrov, and seeing like, because there's a part of me that kind of goes, how on earth is Dubrov a tracker? And how is Mikhail
we had
attracted? Like, there's no. How are they?
We had to
there?
keep getting reminded that, like Dan used to say this quite a lot. He was like, Andy, remember Durov is like a really good archer. He's really good with his bow.
Yeah.
And so there's this whole thing that Dubrov is like, he's a champion archer in the show. So you see it a bit in one of the fight scenes. Dubrov absolutely pings one from like really far away. And so yeah, all that kind of First Army stuff I would love to see. If they, I mean, Netflix, I'll check my schedule, but I imagine I'm free if you want to do a spin-off.
As your manager, I can tell you, we are free.
This one actually follows quite smoothly on. Spoilers, go away. Can you imagine another end to your characters if they were still alive? Would they be gambling at the Crow Club, travelling the world in a boat, crossing the Shadowfold?
Right, I've thought about this before, because we've been asked about this. So we would, well, other than like supporting Mal, but if for any reason like we woke up and like Mal had gone and we were like, right, okay, let's do our own thing.
Oh, he's chasing after Elyssa again, is he?
Right, let's do our own thing. We would most definitely cross the fold because we've got those outfits, the reversible kind of like things that make us look like stones.
So we actually we worked out how to cross the fold safely.
Yeah.
So Leigh, if you are listening to this, maybe consider this for season 2. They need to put on those camouflage tracker outfits, and then effectively, what you do is you just shuffle along like that, and every time a Volcra comes, you just become a rock.
Yeah.
And because there's no light and no sound, then they're buggered, really. So Mikhail and Dubrov make it to Ketterdam. And
By
then
pretending to be rocks.
Yeah, and literally just
I think they open a pub.
Yeah. Maybe we're in competition for the Crows.
And then they change their names to Pekka and Rollins.
Yeah, no, it's we definitely be part of the Crows. That's the thing. That was the odd thing being on set. You're like, we're doing this kind of storyline, and obviously the two meet, but we never get to work with the Crows, and it would have been wonderful to work with,
I think
you guys with Kaz would be.
That would be great.
I also think there is such a funny scene to be made with Jesper meeting Mikhail and Dubrov.
Yes,
because they're like kindred spirits.
Yeah, and not only that, we've pretty much done it a million times in Budapest.
That's a good point.
Many nights out with Kit. Sometimes when we had a 3 a.m. call the next morning.
But I do, I think basically they shuffled their way across the fold.
Yeah.
And obviously, any time a Volcra comes, they just go, "Oh, go away, Volcra," and Volcra flies away like they do. And then once they obviously make it safely across the fold and go, "What was everyone worried about?
Yeah,
we've walked it." They start their pub right next door to the Crows Club.
It would be like one of those street food vendor type places, because you do like Billy Boar.
Well, see, I'm imagining
Billy Boar bao buns or something like that. Yeah,
I'm imagining, in Harry Potter, the Weasley shop.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm imagining Dubrov's face, just like huge,
like chomping on
right next to the
sandwich.
Almost obnoxiously large. Say you're the Crows Club, it's like that. And every time Kaz walks into the Crows Club, he has to look up at Dubrov, going Billy Boar at him. And we just do delicacies like Billy Boar sandwiches, Billy Boar soups, stag shit patties.
Stag shit patties, which are, they're like sloppy joes.
Yeah, like sloppy joes. Yeah. And then also like, Mrs. Sippy Mud Pie chocolate pudding type thing. Yeah, that's stag shit mud pie.
Not actually made out of
no, it just it looks like deer scat. But obviously in this world, they've taken the magical deer scat, sold it, and that they've used that as a down payment on.
Do you know what the worst thing about us in the end is? That deer scat is still in Dubrov's pocket.
I can't remember what was it?
It was a very specific. It was like cereal and like chocolate. Or
it
something.
was real.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't have to eat it, so I didn't taste
No,
it. I don't
but
lick everything I touch.
It wasn't an actual thing though. It wasn't like just a bit of fabric.
It wasn't a real piece of deer scat.
You don't know that. They went, yeah, it's cereal.
Well, I mean, they had it in a little Tupperware box. And
Yeah, they give it to you, and then you just see them anti-backing their hand.
Yeah.
Ugh, that's gross.
If you could be any sort of Grisha, what would you be?
I
If
mean,
you can remember them well enough, because
I've got to be honest and say I love the Inferni.
Yeah, we've spoken about this before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be cool. Keep you warm when you're tracking.
Throwing fireballs. Just
That's cool.
my favourite superhero is the
Johnny
Torch.
Storm.
Yeah. Why did I say the Torch? Johnny
Human
Storm.
Torch.
The Human Torch. Yeah,
Johnny Storm.
flying as fire. Now I know the Inferni can't technically fly, whatever. We could find a way. And with
On the back of a Volcra.
I also exactly.
I love the idea of, like, especially with you guys making your own film as well. You know how you have like fan-made videos, except it'd be like cast-made video of what would happen. Like you guys
Yeah.
just doing a
Yeah.
full-on spin-off on YouTube or something.
Yeah.
Be those like kind of, you know, when people recreate trailers but in like really low budget.
Yeah,
on
Ben
YouTube.
Ben had a one of the first things he said to us. We didn't actually end up doing it, but he was saying we should film bits when like we're in the background, then we walk off screen. We should have someone film the continuation of that
'Cause
to
we
pick
often
up the
didn't stop.
conversations.
We carried on.
And we couldn't really work out the logistics of how that would work, but I love the idea that, like, it comes back to what we were saying about the characters being lived in and this just being a snapshot. I love the idea that somewhere, whilst like Mal and Alina are arguing on the skiff, Mikhail and Dubrov are just arguing about some sousaphone that Dubrov has brought in and started playing at 4
Yeah.
in the morning.
Who do you ship Alina with in the show?
Mal.
No, obviously.
In this house we stand Melina,
Yeah.
and frankly, I won't hear otherwise.
And we also stand Mickey Joe and Dubstep.
Yeah, yeah.
That's another nickname that I can attribute to,
Mickey-
to
Mickey-
Danny Gallagher. Mickey
Yeah.
Joe and Dubstep is, I think, the best nickname that you could have for us.
Mick Dob and Doob Dob.
Mick and Dub Dub.
Or Kit called you Boobrov.
Yeah, Boobrov. We've had a lot of them.
But yeah, Melina, and I won't hear any of this Dark Lena stuff, frankly.
No.
No,
Yeah.
I don't recognise it.
It's also a fairly, like toxic relationship
Yeah.
because he's not a nice guy.
Well, let's not judge it. We've not met him.
That's true.
So, let's not judge the Darkling. I know he's called the Darkling, but...
That would be an interesting meet as well. So, Mikhail and Dubrov meet Kaz would be brilliant, but Mikhail and Dubrov meet the
Well, in
Dark-
that scene when they're facing off.
Yeah.
Just pop in.
That would be the best thing. You've got the Darkling and then you've got Kaz. And
Kaz
all
does
that's
the smoke bomb, and then Mikhail and Dubrov just pop out of it.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. But the answer is Melina.
Melina.
I personally ship her with Genya. I
Okay.
think that would be
Yeah.
a fun time.
Yes.
Yeah, although she wants David, so...
Yeah, but, I mean, there's nothing saying they're not bisexual.
No, but I just mean that, the two of them are like,
But maybe Alina is shipping Mal. Genya is shipping David.
yeah.
But that is a detraction because
just
really...
feelings.
they
Right.
want
It's
to-
all a big ruse.
Yeah. Galena.
Galena, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
If you could play any other character, who would it be?
Jesper.
Milo.
Yeah. Yeah, that would suit you.
My ability.
Yeah. I was gonna
Yeah.
But then, if you play Jesper and Milo,
I would
you
get to sit on
work
Andy's
together
lap.
for
And I
more.
would be carrying Angus just like I always have. I mean, Jesper's just so cool, isn't he? Like, all the guns.
guns,
The
I'd love to be
guns
able to
and,
do that.
everything that kind of Kit can do is so cool. But
We were having drinks in Kit's flat one night, and we sort of tentatively went, "Can I play with your guns?"
Yeah.
And he was like, Yeah, of course, man. So we were both like
Well,
running
he
around
did
his
it
flat,
first,
like,
didn't he? He showed us what he'd been doing.
and
'cause we've
everyone
just
was
got-
having a go on the rubber guns, just like, oh shit. It's really hard.
It's really
Must
hard.
be.
Fuck off, Crims.
Hold for copter.
What was it like meeting Leigh Bardugo?
We
didn't.
What?
I know.
No!
This is the tragic thing, is because we love her to bits and think she's amazing, and obviously we owe her a great debt because she created these characters that we could play, and it was so frustrating because I think she was on set that just like a few days before we then came in, so we never got to meet her.
So you weren't even in the country? You couldn't
no,
just like pop in?
No, that
We've
was
been
it.
lucky enough to like talk to her quite a lot since.
Yeah.
And she's been really supportive of us and everything that we're doing now.
Yeah, didn't she repost your Too's a Crowd? thing?
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
And she backed it. In fact, like all the Shadow and Bone cast backed the campaign.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so lovely.
Yeah, it's been like incredible, really, and really like emotionally blowing away. I really wanted to, like I was saying this the whole time when we were out there, I had this character diary that I was keeping as Mikhail, and I wanted to, like, if there was a premiere, to just give it to Leigh as a like thank you, really. But we didn't get to meet her, and then also because of COVID we didn't get to have the premiere, so yeah, it didn't happen.
We'd still love to meet her one day, and I think it would be a very emotional meeting.
Yeah.
But it would be wonderful. She's so lovely and so supportive, and yeah, she is.
I
just
feel
brilliant.
like I know her.
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
I think
Love
she
the
was.
internet.
She's been brilliant to us from the moment that we.
I sent her like a really gushing message on the day the show came out, being like, "Happy Shadow and Bone Day. Just, I hope you have the best day and enjoy it all. Thank you so much. Like, I'm gonna watch it with my family." And she was like, "I can't wait for you guys to watch it and see what you and Andy do. I'm like lifelong fans of yours now." And I was like,
Yeah. I asked her to send gin because I was emotionally distressed from our last scene, and she's like, "Funny, I've just been gifted some. Send it my way."
Did you read or know of Shadow and Bone beforehand?
I think I'd heard of it, but I hadn't read the books before, and decided not to read the books. Like we said before we were cast, or else that would have been heartbreaking if we didn't get it. Obviously, once we were cast, then we read the books, but it's yeah, I didn't.
I wasn't even aware of it before. So it was all such a nice, and I wouldn't have read it otherwise.
Yeah.
Are you big readers, either of you?
I'm very dyslexic, so I find reading a big challenge.
I'm not. I wouldn't ever class myself as a big reader, but I mean, I really love like autobiographies, and like I was the kid that loved fact books when they were younger.
Amazing.
Like all those books about like dinosaurs, or like I don't know, was well into like James Bond, super massive nerd. So like Star Wars and Star Trek, and for me like comics was a thing. So I'd always be in the library, getting out comic books. That was like my kind of childhood and early teens, certainly.
Andy always laughs at me because like the books I read are like football managers' autobiographies because they're so easy to read. Like this, and this is the thing about Shadow and Bone. I was reading it, like I'm usually really slow. Bear in mind I did an English literature degree, so I had to do a lot of reading for that. But that was my reading for life.
Yeah. You made up for it.
With Shadow and Bone, I was reading it, and I was reading it really quickly, and I was really impressed with how quickly I was reading it. And I kept on turning to my partner and being like, "I'm reading this really quickly." So yeah, thanks Leigh for helping a little dyslexic boy read your book quick.
Have you read all of them or some of them?
I
Stopped after we died.
Yeah.
To be honest. Just,
yeah.
Well, that's that done.
Goodbye.
Put that back.
I read the first Shadow and Bone and the first Crows, but
Yeah, the first two Shadow and Bone and the first Crows. On to the second one. second crows at the moment. We didn't have time to kind of read them when we were shooting, obviously. So it was one of those like, okay, now the pandemic's kind of slowing down, at least here it is. It's quite nice to be able to get back into reading. I love reading on the tube. I know some people can't, but for me, like going to work every day in my kind of regular job, I loved being able to read like 15 to 20 pages at a time and then do it on the way back. That's how I would read a book.
That's where I would read as well, and that's been taken away.
Yeah, so I can't wait to kind of get back into more of it. That would be fun.
Obviously, we've talked a lot about the hijinks of being on set with you two and the chaos that you'd create. What would you do if you had 5 minutes between takes? You're still on set, you can't move. What would you do?
As in, okay, well, find some food.
Yeah.
Whether it's the old chicken, rice and broccoli, or
I'd probably have a
sugary treat.
an upright nap.
You would, yeah, you would often have naps, and I would go for a little exploration, talk to the animals at the farm, go and find the guy with the flamethrower, see if he's doing his thing.
Your flame boy.
Yeah.
Do you know what? One of the sweetest things in the world. So I was having my upright nap like that, and one of the runners walked in and was like, "Would anyone like a coffee?" And I was half asleep, and I heard Andy go, "Angus is asleep, but he will like a flat white." And I was like, "Thank you."
I knew because that day was particularly quite hard, and I remember thinking, if he doesn't get his flat white, I will never hear the end of it, and therefore I think it's better if I just order it for him. So yeah.
I like how he says a really lovely story and you're like, yeah, but it's just because it'd be a nightmare
Yeah,
otherwise.
yeah, that's usually how
like
it goes.
a baby. Just like,
If you weren't an actor, what job would you do? Or would you not hate to do?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a stuntman.
Ooh.
Like I really, really wanted to be a stuntman. I think I saw Ray Park in The Phantom Menace and was like, I want to do that. That's cool. All the flips and all the like burning buildings.
what a wasted character that is.
Yeah, but I don't know if it wasn't in the arts, if it wasn't doing music, then I guess like a lawyer.
No,
Yeah.
that's a jump.
Well, because it like
A lot of actors become lawyers though.
because you've got that kind of argument, you creative thinking, anything that uses creative thinking. I can't think of anything else, but I mean, I couldn't be a doctor.
I genuinely don't think I'd have the drive to succeed in anything. I'd have to care about something to work hard at it. Otherwise, what's the point?
What happens if there is no point though to anything?
Yeah, and then we're just shuffling around this mortal coil until we die.
Yeah.
So just give up now.
Don't do anything Angus tells you. It's usually dangerous.
I had another question. It's gone now. Why am I like this?
Something to do with
Is
career.
that the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, well, did it stem from problems in your childhood?
Did Andy tell you about how I found out that you guys were in or that he was in Shadow and Bone? I don't even know if I told you what was going through my head at the time, because we were doing a commercial and we were just hanging out after work and we were talking about like our regular jobs. I was like, oh yeah, I work for a company called Fairy Loot. They're like a bookish young adult subscription box thing. And he went, fantasy young adult. He went, oh yeah, I've in the last year or so I've become familiar with young adult fantasy. And I went, stop that. There is one reason, and one reason alone why you would know about that. He went, yeah, I'm involved in this show. I went, fuck off. Yeah, Shadow and Bone.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that was.
That is such an Andy thing.
No,
to
I
do.
just.
Go,
I
like.
No, it wasn't like that. It was because.
It was relevant.
I like connecting, and I was like, oh, okay, young adult, like kind of fantasy stuff. But yeah, I just, that was the last job I had, so.
I do the opposite, and like.
Don't
so
talk
people
to
go,
people.
Hi, I'm Andy, and I go, I've just been cast in Shadow and Bone.
Is that what you did?
Yeah, before
you've met.
before I've said the name.
Before you've even said. Your
How are
name.
you? Yeah, before I've asked anything about
I would
them.
go, hi, I'm Andy.
Shadow and Bone.
What?
So I've just been cast.
What worries me is I can picture that.
I would like to say, in the lead up to Shadow and Bone coming out, we were so nervous about it. At one point, we had convinced ourselves that they had completely cut us out of the show.
Yeah.
And had Archie's scenes would just have like blurry patches behind
Yeah.
him. This is how like spiraling our head was getting on this particular day.
Helped by a global pandemic,
Yeah.
where we hadn't worked and we weren't involved in kind of the editing process. The last we saw of it, we saw a bit when we did ADR, additional dialogue recording. So we saw a tiny bit. We each saw different bits because we went in separately, and that was it. Like, I didn't see all of my bits, you didn't
No.
see all of your bits, and we kind of were like, that was in the summer, late summer, September.
Yeah, September.
And then we weren't part of that process, so you kind of stew on it and you go, I hope we did all right.
Yeah,
I think
and
we
you
did
start
all right.
going, we're not in the trailer.
Yeah,
Are we still in the show?
yeah.
Because I've told all my friends.
Yeah.
But then the next day I woke up and said to Andy, it would be
Hang
much
on.
harder for them. And what would Archie do for that whole bit where
He's talking to
He's in
me.
the tent.
Yeah.
Himself.
Yeah.
Half of his
Yeah.
scenes would be cut in the first 4 episodes, yeah. We were quite lucky in that the other cast had told us they'd seen it. When they'd seen the first 5 episodes and they were like, your stuff's really great. And we're like, great! I hope you're right, you're not just saying it.
Something could have changed.
Yeah.
You binged it, didn't you?
I
On release
binged it
day?
in a day.
What about you?
2 days. So I had a viewing party with my family, and we watched episodes 1, 2, and 4. Because I was like, I'm not
in this one.
episode 3. And my mum went, well, I'm not watching that then.
Oh my god!
So I also got very drunk. So my partner and I went back the next day and watched it all the way through again. And do you know what? There was an element of like, I don't know if you found this, after our episodes, like, could just sit back and watch it.
Yeah, it was
Then.
kind of peaceful in that way because you're not going, oh my god, I know this is our scene coming up, or that's me on the screen, that I know how many people are watching this, and hearing all of kind of, Instagram and social media blow up because it was out, and you're kind
Yeah.
of there going, but that's my face on that screen. That's quite weird.
I kept on sending, which you probably didn't appreciate. I kept on like looking up Mikhail and Dubrov tweets and then sending them to Andy on the day,
Yeah.
being like, look what all
Have
these
you
people are saying
Have you
about
seen
Mikhail.
this one? Yeah, it was really lovely that there was such a positive reaction to us, but it was quite odd. So, but you're right. The last 4 episodes in that series, you could just watch and also be really proud of being part of someone, but proud of our friends who were, doing the rest of the story, and they were so good in it, and I really, really enjoyed it. There's nothing. We could have watched it and gone, that's great, that's a job done. But I genuinely watched it and went, oh yeah, without shadow of a doubt, no pun intended, I would have watched this whole thing had I watched the first 10 minutes of Shadow and Bone. I was like, oh yeah, if this was something I wasn't a part of and didn't know about, I most definitely would have watched it all. I would have binged it because it was such an epic kind of fantasy world. I was like, let's go.
I was really sad. It felt like last day of school because like
I thought you wouldn't see me
all the way through shooting, and then like in the lead up to it coming out, it felt like we were like very much part of it and involved still. And then I was really sad because I was like, oh, our journey ends here. Once I finish this series, that's it for us in Shadow and Bone. So
unless there's flashback.
yeah, I woke up the morning it came out and just like Atlanta, my partner, was like, are you excited? And I just cried, and I was like, I'm not. I'm scared and I'm sad and I don't want it to be over, and it is. So I don't know what to do with that, and I can't don't really have like, apart from Andy, there's no one like relatably to talk to about it and be like, this is how I'm feeling about this, because I don't know anyone that has like been in a show like Shadow and Bone and then like left a show like Shadow and Bone. So it wasn't like, how do you do this? So
there's no maps for it.
I wasn't massively excited and happy on the day it came out. I was overwhelmingly sad and nervous.
Yeah, but it's a great piece of TV.
Yeah.
Cinematography and all of that. So overall, you go through that, and then you go through, oh my god, it's, how amazing is it? How grateful are we to be part of it? So you just flip.
Yeah,
I guess. But yeah.
And it must be amazing the relationships that you've formed, and you've all clearly, also, not just you two, but you've all stayed in touch. And
yeah, we're all still friends with everyone. I really miss them all because I can't see them at the moment, and the pandemic has really kind of not helped with that. We went from seeing these guys almost every day when we were on set, and then to just like nothing, and straight into a pandemic, into a lockdown. So then when we opened up a bit in the summer and we could see each other, it was so lovely to be able to just kind of chill out with them again and chat about everything, and just about their regular lives and our regular lives, not just about Shadow and Bone. So
I was voice noting Danny, and Danny was like, we definitely need to do something all together, even if it's just Zoom.
Yeah.
And I thought she said the zoo, and I replied saying, I love the zoo. We should all go to the zoo.
That would be amazing. We'll go to the zoo. Everyone's invited.
Or the aquarium.
Already done this question, but I do want to highlight that one of the people that asked a question was Ben Barnes Clips.
It'd be funny if it was actually Ben.
Yeah, he's got
His own
Twitter.
His own
clip.
account.
Where he creates videos of himself.
Ben was so funny in this bit.
That's something that we'd do. That's what we're doing with Sue's a Crowd.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thanks to everyone's questions.
Yeah, you've all been great. You've all been great.
You've been great.
You've been the best.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. I think you're absolutely fantastic. You're dynamic in real life, in the show. Absolutely obsessed. Everything to do with Two's a Crowd is down below. Also, the Fairy exclusive special edition of Shadow and Bone is also down there. Go check these guys out. Bye.
Bye.
That was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then you can just like, I don't know, pretend to punch each other in the face or something like that. Something that feels appropriate.
Judo.